He's 25. If I think about where I was when I was 25, I wouldn't date me. Because I'm older, I need to be realistic with my expectations of him.
When we get to like a gate, maybe a security is there, they'll ask me if it's an Uber drop-off.
Friends say to me, you know, we're the only white people here.
I'm Keagile, Sejeng, and then this is Tanja, Rosenberg, but like soon to be Sejeng.
So we were at the club.
We went with a group of friends, and that group of friends somehow had made friends with Tanja over here. And then she came up to me and she's like, I like your smile. And then I said, I like yours. She started pulling faces and stuff, but like the chemistry was very strong.
He was convinced that I was on Molly.
Yeah.
Because I was like looking at him and I was like, doing this face.
Yeah, she does this thing where she pull faces.
I pull faces when I drink alcohol because I get super excited. And so that's my way of flirting. I was like, looking at him across the room.
And for some reason,
I'm
that
like,
drew me closer.
It drew me closer. Like my friends always said, you're not going to get a man if you do that. But this one, he loved it. He's like, oh, she's looking at me.
Yeah.
He disappeared for like he ghosted me basically. And then like I blocked him for like 4 months because I was like, what? Like I thought I was, you know, like I really thought we had something going on. The
next year, I moved back to Pretoria again.
When I unblocked him, I promise you, not even like 2 seconds later, he's like, hello? I was like, he's been waiting. You still have to explain to me, were you checking my name?
Yeah, I happened to. But then we found each other again.
Yes.
And then since then, we've been kicking it. She's a very free-spirited person, and I'm drawn to that. And so I think with her facial expressions, it reflects that free-spirited energy, like in her face.
It was obviously his face and his smile and whatever. He was jacked and he was much lighter.
Yeah, so at the time I was using this like cream that I got from my from my Pakistani barbers. And it was, hey, it made me, I was a yellow bug, like full on. Yeah, that's actually the main reason. But like now he caught me with his personality when the yellowness faded away. Yeah. My first impression of his character is that his spirit is very calm, and it's opposite to mine. I'm like all over the place, and he's very peaceful, and I really admire that. It helps like with the chaos of what's going on in here to just be around him. My first impression of her character was sincerity. She's very straight to the point, and she wears her emotions out on the sleeve. He's very different to me. So like everything that he feels and stuff is inside. So I've had to learn like his micro expressions. I'll say something and he'll just be like, okay. And I'm like, I need more to work from. So we're very different in that aspect. Yeah. I grew up most of the time with my mother. She never made comments. And then so my primary school was very mixed race. And for me, it was the most normal thing. But I do remember with a lot of my friends, let's say, for example, if we're in a bus, I'd have a friend say to me, you know, we're the only white people here. And it's just never something that bothered me or frustrated me. And I'm grateful for that. My mom absolutely adores Kia. In regards to my stepdad, he every now and again would make a comment or I'd hear it via the grapevine. He never really had a say in my life. And I suppose it's because I have a strong personality. Like if I love someone, that person, whether it be a friend or whatever, like that's my person then. But one day, like we were at their house, he asked me something about Eskom and Jacobs and like, for example, that, well, how would I know? But outside of that, he never really made that impression that like he had a problem. And then as far as my family goes, with reacting to my relationship with Tanja, my parents are supportive of whatever I do. They just want to know that like she's a good person. Some of the standout cultural differences, the first one that I noticed was the dogs thing. They stay outside, they sleep in the garage, that type of relationship. Yes. And then our dogs are our friends and family members. This dog sleeps in the bed. They sleep in the bed. You know what I'm saying? That's a big cultural difference for me. Second cultural difference is discipline. Discipline's very different. I get a lot of advice from him because I feel the way I grew up was very different. When it comes to raising Tayden,
I ask him for advice, and I ask him like, how did your mom do this, or how did your mom do that? Because I feel like, but with white families, more goes. Like, we're not as respectful to our parents.
Another cultural difference is the freedoms. In my family, and I believe in like our culture as a whole, it's not really a thing for, especially if you're a teenager, for a boyfriend or a girlfriend to sleep over or travel with you on holiday.
And we just,
for them though, it's like it's a whole thing.
Yes, that's true. Where and where in my relationship does the cultural difference stand out? Time. I was brought up like, you say you're going to be there at 10:30. That means you make sure you're ready an hour before the time with 30 minutes to spare. I'm planning out like my time accordingly. Kia, on the other hand, is very chilled and calm. The clock is just there as a decoration. And the time is also just something that's, you know what time? That's okay, and I shouldn't be offended. And he's not disrespecting me. Because for me, in the beginning, guys, I used to pick him up at his house before he had a car, and he'd make me wait. It was twice that he made me wait. The third time, he's like, where are you? I'm outside. I'm like, I left. I'm like, you're disrespecting me. But after a while, once I got to know his personality and his character, I'm like, this man, such a respectful man. It's not something he's doing to hurt me or to disrespect me. He honestly just doesn't get time.
The way that like we handle challenges is also quite different. If she has an issue, she'll say it now, and she'll say exactly what she feels. Whereas for me, I prefer to think about what I feel.
So the communication comes with working on like possible solutions for the situation, or how we're going to change our mindset. We're both big on being positive and staying positive. Communicating expectations is actually such a brilliant thing to do. I think it's so absolutely necessary, because when you're in a relationship, you forget that you're two different people coming from two different backgrounds.
But so long as the end goal is to grow with each other, then I think everything else kind of like falls into.
I say to him, like, if he comes back home, I'm grumpy, and he has no idea. I had to learn to tell him, like, hey babe, in my head, you were going to come home, then this was going to happen, and that was going to happen, and then none of that happened. When you explain that to someone, they go, oh, now I understand why you're possibly disappointed or frustrated. We love it when we walk in public and people stare at us. It's like, it's great.
I think we're used to it, but also I don't think it matters all that much. When we're going somewhere, every time I get to like a gate, maybe a security is there, they'll ask me if it's an Uber drop-off. And like,
you're so used to that question, he just goes,
no. Maybe the first time I might have thought like a certain type of way, but like more than anything, it's I get where people are coming from, because that's when they see this. So it's like it doesn't really matter, it doesn't bother me. Another question that she's gotten a lot on the TikTok for me is, where do I get a white chick? It's such a strange question.
We're in South Africa. South Africa has a history. If you're gonna have purple hair, people are gonna look. If you're beautiful, people are gonna look. If you're too skinny, people are gonna look. People are always gonna look. Taking offense is a choice. Because in the end, like, you go home to your person, that's what matters.
Yeah, and there's a lot of influence in that, and I think that influence is a positive influence as well. Someone went up to her and she said like she watches her TikToks and stuff, and like it helped her.
She said something so humbling to me, and I felt like I really didn't deserve it. Like, she came up to me and she said to me, like, you are such an inspiration to me. I've been following your story. I mean, my story, what? I'm just living my life. You know what I mean? It was a white girl. She's like, I've been dating a black guy for 8 months now, and we absolutely love watching you guys on TikTok and stuff. And I was just like so humbled and taken back, because I'm not trying. I've noticed that people like to see our relationship, so then I just post it. But like, I'm lucky.
That influence could also be positive.
I didn't have a racial preference. I dated black, white, whatever. It wasn't a thing. But I do know that, hey, this might be a bit rough. I did get a lot of questions from my friends, my white friends, saying like, I hear that like black men have
well endowed.
Oh, very well endowed, and they're like, is it true? And I'm like, you'll have to find out, you know what I'm saying? But that's really a thing. Tayden and Kia met immediately. I think the right thing to do is to just take your time when introducing your child to your person, because we all know that stuff happens and you might not work out, and if someone doesn't have a father, there's a lot of complications. So I wouldn't say my way was the right way, and thank the Lord that we worked out, because he absolutely loves Tayden so much.
The relationship between me and Tayden's been great. I view him as my son. I believe I've had a bit of catching up to do, simply because like I wasn't there since he was born. I'd say maybe after like 4 months, then like he was my child, and that was that. And people do ask.
That's another funny story.
And I'm like, well, it's my son. They're like, but he doesn't look like you. Like, maybe not. It doesn't stop him from being my son, though. I think like one of my prouder moments that I don't speak about often enough is like when he started calling me dad, because he used to call me uncle first. And then the one day he just decided he's gonna come back from school and start calling me dad, and that was that. And then from there it was like it's been like it's me and him.
I see so much of Kia in Tayden, and it's just such a great influence. And I'm just so glad that he has a man to look up to, that he calls his father. That's someone that has all the characteristics that I want in my son. He's very proud of his dad. He shows off a lot with his dad. It's my dad is what he says. My most favorite thing about my partner is his patience. What's your most favorite thing about me?
My favorite thing about it is the sincerity and also like the willingness to grow. Again, we have two different ways of getting towards it. And if I'm not speaking and she's already spoken, she gets extremely uncomfortable and I get internal. She wants to leave the space. And so maybe she'll go for a walk or whatever, but she won't say anything. She'll just disappear. That's my least favorite thing.
My least favorite thing, I think I oftentimes am faced with who I am as a person. I'm extremely impatient. I can get anxious and negative in my mind, and he really frustrates me. He makes me so angry when he's late, or when he doesn't talk about his emotions, or when he does things different to me. And so that's my least favorite thing, is that like I have to constantly work on myself so that he doesn't trigger me so much. But I think it's a positive thing. Biggest compromise for me was in the beginning of our relationship. He moved in with me. But now, like, as women, we're very territorial. And because I have such a strong personality, I want things done my way. And so then he comes into my space and he has his way, you know, and he's a man as well. So I think the biggest compromise is learning that, like, if I want someone in my life, I need to learn to compromise everything.
Our age gap now. So like, how does it influence our relationship? The age thing doesn't really matter to me, doesn't really come to me at all.
The age gap only became a thing when people started asking us about it. But then I actually sat down and I thought, and I think for me as a woman, to have someone that's at a certain place in their life is very important. I mean, he's 25. If I think about where I was when I was 25, I wouldn't date me when I was 25, especially as a man, because like there are certain expectations for the man. They need to provide. I do think that he needs more time, and because I'm older, I need to be realistic with my expectations of him, because it's not like I didn't know what I was getting into when I signed up. And same thing for him. I wanted to get married and have children. He's just moving at his pace. But he's very mature for his age. It's actually almost disgusting. Like sometimes I feel like I need to be a bit more mature. I noticed that it was a thing. Like people can really say mean things about age. Like in my head, I'm like, I'm 18, you know, okay, maybe not 18, like 23. And so then when people like will make comments like that he's dating a granny, my gogo ones. And the first time I'll just like laugh it off, and then afterwards I'm like, hey, but this is actually a thing. Then I start to think to myself like, yo, like I am getting old. But no, the fact is that I'm just older than him. And also I've had to realize that it's okay to get older, and it's okay to have wrinkles.
I think the most important thing with the age gap is the biological clock. Yeah, I want
like, can I have
6
babies
kids.
still? I don't want 6.
She doesn't want 6. I want 6.
I'm willing. Let me tell you, this one is that's coming is a boy, so it's 2 boys. The next one's a girl. I'm done. If the next one is a boy, then I might consider having one more for a girl. But then I'm done. I'm not giving you 6. And also, don't complain if I get fat then as well, because honestly, you can't think I'm gonna be hot and then give you 6 kids. And also, he's been great with that. Like, he still thinks I'm sexy even though I'm chubby, so that's cool.
The advice that I'd give someone who's in a similar age gap to what we have, and also an interracial relationship, focus on your partner and yourself, and focus on your relationship. Because if you put most of your energy there, you eventually learn that it doesn't really matter.
I've noticed that a lot of people come to me and they talk about their parents. Okay, it matters now because you're 18 or because you're 17, but like, in the end, you become your own person. Decide, like, what's the most important thing? What people think, or what I want for myself and for my life.